This is my first impressions of the Final Fantasy 16 demo, which is available on PlayStation 5. I'll do a little backstory on my Final Fantasy history. Obviously, it started on the NES, Super Nintendo, and then obviously eventually moved from the Nintendo platforms because obviously Nintendo were moving on to cartridge, and Square wanted to go to bigger and better things. Obviously, this was before Square merged with before it became Square Enix, and obviously they went to obviously PlayStation because obviously it was more CD based, allowed to have more memory. And obviously now, obviously with it being Square Enix, they seem to be making games back obviously on the Nintendo console, where we've seen some of the old and classic Final Fantasy games. Now I'm one of these ones where I'm going to be honest and say that I wasn't a Final Fantasy fan, but not in the sense that I didn't like it. I was one of these people who was a fan of it from afar, and this was simply because of the fact that although I loved the games in the Final Fantasy series, I wasn't very good at turn-based RPGs, and plus I was very kind of impatient. Now, so I was one of the ones where I would watch other people play these type of games, and you know, I would enjoy the story and people's skill in playing these kind of games. So that's why I never kind of really got into. Although I've played games like Chrono Trigger from some Square and Secret of Mana, although both games I have not completed, but I will. You know, I am gonna get back to those two games because they're both absolute classics. So a few couple of years ago, they did do a Final Fantasy 7 remake, which came out on the PS4. There was a demo of that, and what kind of intrigued me about that particular game was the fact that it wasn't going to be turn-based. It was going to be more kind of action-based, similar to, you know, like how you'd have a JRPG, you know, like, for example, Zelda. So I played the demo of that of Final Fantasy 7 remake and actually really enjoyed it. Then I was gifted the game, which I've got, which I haven't got round to playing the full game, but I'm planning on getting round to that game because obviously they're releasing part 2 of that now. As I said before, I did really enjoy the actual demo of that game because it wasn't turn based, it was more action based, and that was more my cup of tea. So when I heard the rumours of Final Fantasy 16, I wasn't sure whether or not they're going to be going back to the turn-based format because I haven't, you know, tried out the Final Fantasy 7 remake demo. So I just tried it out on the PS5, and I can categorically say that I really, absolutely enjoyed it. You're given like various lots of options where you can either choose the frame rate or the actual if you want to play it in 4K or 60 frames per second. Now I chose frame rate simply because of the fact that I've only got a 1080p TV. I'm not really kind of going to benefit with obviously with the graphics because I haven't got a 4K TV as of yet. So what I will say about this game is that it does have a lot of cutscenes in it, but what I will say is that for me it was all entertaining right off the bat. You're straight into the action. So I didn't know kind of what was going on. Then you're playing as lead character. Then what ends up happening is that you then end up it ends up going back into a flashback. So you end up see some of the audio of the character who's called Clive and his brother called Joshua. Again, I don't want to sit there and spoil the narrative of the story because you should really check out the story for yourself. But it's actually a really intriguing and really interesting episode. Again, the graphics, even though I didn't set it for graphics performance, looked absolutely fantastic, phenomenal. The voice acting obviously has been dubbed into English. The actual animation looked absolutely great as well. Looking at the actual setting of the game, it gave me this Game of Thrones vibe. Even one of the king in it actually looks like the Sean Bean character, which I don't know his name, but he did look like him. The actual combat in the actual game, as I said before, as it's not turn-based, it's actually all action-based. So you can obviously do normal melee attacks. Obviously you've got your magic, which you can sit there and do. On the R1 you can actually dodge. And then you've got your basic super move that you can do, and obviously you can stagger the opponents. And for me, I found the actual combat and it's absolutely fantastic. The dodging in the game was absolutely brilliant. I actually felt like you know, for the most part with the bosses that I was fighting in the game, I was pretty much dodging their attacks, and then you get like this precision time if you time it correctly and when they're about to attack you. And the only times I found that I was getting hit was when I wasn't concentrated properly or going in the wrong direction. But multiple, it felt as if it was my fault in the sense of me not dodging correctly. There have been sometimes where some games where I've been pressing buttons or pressing certain things, and it doesn't feel like as if it's my fault. But in this game, it actually did feel like that I was messing up. And because the controls were so kind of on point, even when say you've got a boss who's got a huge energy bar and you're gonna take off his energy, his health energy bar and the stagger energy bar as well, it didn't feel to me too tedious. Where there's been other games which haven't been necessarily been RPGs, but they felt a bit, you know, like a bit tedious in the sense of grinding down the actual boss's you know, energy bar or energy bar. And then sometimes I think some games which I felt that I've played in the past, they've made the control system and the combat system and the counter system too overly complicated. So I felt myself like forgetting if I hadn't played the game in a while, or if I'm learning kind of new stuff into the game, I felt like I was forgetting. But with this game, everything just felt like it was perfectly on point. Absolutely kind of brilliant. And then by the time, and then when you actually defeat the bosses, it feels really rewarding. Obviously, in the full game, you're gonna have to do a lot of grinding so that your character level up. I managed to get my character up to level 8, so I started from 6 and I got him to level 8. Obviously, you're gonna be able to pick up items like potions and high potions. Obviously, pick up better outfits and better weapons so that obviously they do more damage. Because obviously, in the full game and in all like Final Fantasy games, the bosses are going to get a lot harder, so you're going to be forced to do a lot of grinding. And I don't mind grinding in RPGs and in most other games that I've played in the past, because as long as the game feels like it's not repetitive and it feels like it's entertaining at the end of the day, I don't kind of mind having to, you know, like do that. But as for the voice acting was great, the story, there's a kind of a little bit of a twist at the end with a particular character. The only negative thing I had with one of the bosses is you go through all this effort in like defeating this boss, which took a little bit of time. I mean, you think you've defeated the boss, but then the boss ends up pulverizing you, even though you think the boss is dead. So it felt like a little bit pointless in doing it. Maybe in the actual full version of the game, or when the game's completed, we'll get a better explanation as to what's kind of going on. But at the current moment, to me, it would have made more sense if you played that particular boss. You felt like you was beating it, but then you got sucker punched because of the you know, during the boss battle. But as I said before, the controls were on point. You can, I think you give an option of doing it where if you can do it a story mode or more action mode. But if you take it, I think whichever mode you pick, that's for all the more seasoned people though, who are more used to this thing. So I picked that option. Again, if I would say that if you've got a PS5, I don't know if it's available on PC. I would assume it is, or on Steam. Definitely recommend picking this up. If I didn't have so many things to sit there to sort out, or things that I wanted to really get, I definitely would be picking this up. According to the retail, this comes out on the 22nd of June, so it's next week. I do know that there is a deluxe version available, which I don't know what you kind of get with the actual game. But so far, as I said, I'm really, from what I played it, I really enjoyed the game. It really took me by surprise because I didn't know what to expect, you know, before you know, I was gonna play the demo, so I just went in it cautiously being optimistic in terms of what to expect. 'Cause I don't like you know, highering too much of my expectations from certain things. And then I was pleasantly surprised. Even my brother, who was, while I was playing halfway through the actual demo, the demo's about 2 hours, just over 2 hours long. And if you don't die, my brother was playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. He finished playing that, and then he decided to, you know, like, watch me, you know, play the game, because he's a big Final Fantasy fan and a big Square Enix fan as well. So he decided to do watch me play, and he actually really enjoyed it as well. So he was, you know, kind of saying to me, "Oh, you know, don't attack now, dodge this, don't do that." I mean, he was really enjoying the storyline as it unfolded in terms of what was going on. So he actually really kind of liked it, and that was kind of, this is probably the first time in many years that he's actually sat down with me while I've actually played the game, and he really enjoyed the actual story, the actual plot, and the actual graphics and the actual gameplay, and the music in it is classic Final Fantasy, should I say, in terms of the musical tunes that they actually use in the actual game. But yeah, I'm really kind of really impressed and I'm overcome by how good the actual demo is, because I've seen other YouTubers say, oh, that it could be possible contender for Game of the Year, judging it by the demo. And you know, like, sometimes people can, you know, can over exaggerate, or, you know, have their things too, you know, expectations far too high. But having played it myself, I actually kind of fully agree, and that definitely at some point I will be picking up Final Fantasy 16 at some point. I was streaming it on Twitch, so what I will do is that in the next few days I will upload the demo that I played on Twitch onto YouTube. Hopefully there's no copyright claims in it, but if there is, there's an option via the YouTube studios where you can mute segments of where you know, there's copyrighted music. So if if you do find that there's bits that are muted in the actual my gameplay of the actual demo itself, that's due to the fact that I've had it, you know, maybe there's possibly been copyright and I've had to mute it. But overall, as I said before, I wasn't like a big fan of Final Fantasy, and I ended up coming out of it really high, enjoying it. I'm gushing and over praising over the game, but I really enjoyed it. I'm taken aback by how good the actual demo is, and if it wasn't for the fact of other games that I want, or maybe at the moment I can't afford, and it also even time, I probably definitely would have picked up this game, and I definitely will pick up this game again. As I said before, if you're somebody that's a big fan of the Final Fantasy series, regardless of whether or not it's turn-based, I would say play the demo, check it out, you'll love it. If you're somebody that in the past that's been hesitant in playing Final Fantasy games because you've been put off by the turn-based games, but you want to have the control of your character, where you've got the action of the character, I would say definitely try this out, because you will be pleasantly surprised of how good the actual game is. As I said before, I can't even put into words how good this demo really is. Probably one of the best demos I've played in the last couple of years, if you want my humble opinion. And coming from me that, you know, that wasn't a hardcore Final Fantasy fan, you know that I'm being honest, and I always strive myself in being honest and being objective on how I feel about something that I'm reviewing or I'm played. So trust me when I say that this game is really good, and I do recommend trying out the demo if you've got a PS5 available.